Alright guys, we're going to make a quick video here and we're going to go over the worksheet for Unit 3 drawings. This worksheet, you're not going to draw it, you're simply just going to print it off. It's got 4 pages and we're going to go through all these quick arcs and whatnot just so you kind of have an idea of what's happening. Keep in mind you turn this in all at once, making sure that everything has arcs. If you don't show me having arcs, then I don't accept it and you go back and you fix it, because all the drawings that follow use these principles that you're going to learn out of this worksheet, so that way you can accomplish all of this. So real quick, print it off. This is step 4. It's worth 20 points. We're just going to go through this together so you guys kind of have an idea. So at the same time, while I go through this, I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. So let's go ahead and zoom in real quick. Did you see I made coffee? Yeah, did you? You should start watching my videos, man. Every once in a while I put a little, Eye of the Tiger on. Alright, so real quick, this one we're going to be bisecting AB, and we're going to be using compasses. So what I do is I go ahead and I show you what it looks like when it's done, and then we do it together. Real quick, the real trick to bisecting this is you simply just go beyond halfway with your compass from both A and B points, and you just scribe. And then you flip your compass, go the other way, A, B again, keeping the same compass. Then you have crosshairs, so it's pretty easy. So let's go ahead and do this one together. Becomes real easy. Remember, there's no perfection to this. As long as I look like I'm beyond halfway and I can stretch it like extreme amounts. See how that's definitely past halfway, and I'll just simply scribe. It's very important though that you are on point B and point A. Now I have crosshairs. All I'm simply going to do now is grab my triangle and do this. There it is. I've bisected it. That means it's 90 degrees, 100% 90 degrees, and it's halfway between A and B. Cool beans? That one's done. Keep in mind, I've got to see these arcs. If I don't see these arcs, then that's telling me that kids are doing this, which isn't the right practice. If you want to be quick at drawing in these next units, or drawing in general, you got to pick up these basic understanding skills. So real quick, this is going to be 2. It's going to be the exact same, other than with bisecting CD. So I simply just draw a line between CD, and then I go back to the same original practice I had with this. So let's do it again. So let's connect the points. And in reality, I don't even really need to draw this, because as long as my arc is halfway or more than halfway, if it's more than halfway, then I'm fine, right? So I'm just going to simply arc, flip it, arc. Notice I'm not doing a whole big arc. I'm just doing little arcs because I'm just looking for these little crosshair points. And that bisects it right there. Boom, boom. Bisecting meaning it split it right in half, and it goes perpendicular at the same time, meaning it's 90 degrees. Cool. Alright, this one's pretty easy. It's fun in a sense of using the divider, which is a good practice. So what you simply do is, the first one you break up into 3 sections. And this is all trial and error, meaning I stretch my divider. If it doesn't fit, then I simply just stretch it out, which we'll go over. And then the second one, I just do a random line length. It doesn't matter the angle. We're just trying to make these all the same. So let's go ahead and do it here. I'm going to grab my divider. Here we go. So let me zoom out a little bit so you guys can kind of see what's happening here. So I'm just going to randomly make this a length, okay, which I think looks like halfway. And I'm just simply going to stab. And I'm not stabbing hard. I'm just stabbing nice and light. See how we're under? 3 sections. I'm going to stretch it a little bit. I'm going to start over. I'm not stabbing hard right now, because if you do, you're going to screw yourself because you got so many random dots. Boom. Now I'm over, right? See that? I'm over. So I'm going to stretch it in a little bit. There we go. Do it again. Boom, look at that. That's close enough. So I'm going to stab this hard so I know where it's at. I'm going to come back. I'm going to stab this one hard. And now I'm going to take my pencil. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do that. Then I'm just simply going to break it up. 3 sections. 1, 2, 3. 3 equal parts. Boom, 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 boom. Now my next one, I got to divide this into 5 equal sections, but I'm going to do the parallel method line. So I'm simply just going to draw a random line length. Okay, I'm going to go longer on this one so you guys kind of have an idea, because my demonstration, it looks like point GH is the same as this new line I drew. I didn't do that on purpose. I just randomly drew it, and you can randomly draw any of them. So I have it drawn, and I'm just going to call this my point right here. So right away, I'm going to go like this. Now, these are the sections I need to break up evenly, right? So, real quick, what I'm going to do, so 5 sections, right? So here we go. We're going to go into 5 sections. Let's zoom out so you guys can see what's going on here. 5 sections. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Too short. Let's go a little bit longer. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5. Too long now. Come in. 1, 2. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just gonna go scotch bit. Now I'm gonna roll with it. So here we go. 1, stabbing hard now. There's 2. Here's 3. Here's 4. Here's 5. And I'm a little off, so I gotta go back. I screwed up. I stabbed too hard right away. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I think I'm set. So we're gonna go 1. Stabbing hard now. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. Look at that, dead on. There's 5. Now I'm simply going to take it here. I'm going to come back from here now. There's 1. I haven't moved my divider. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. There's 5. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Keep in mind they're all parallel. So point to point. See that section? Point to point. Section. Point to point. Section, point to point. I screwed that one up. So let's put her back on the same. Holy crap. I went the wrong way. I don't know why I did that. It goes here to here. I'm sorry. I went the wrong way, guys. Now that I got to thinking about it. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. Here's 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm gonna erase that stuff real quick. I kind of screwed up on you. See how I started this way? I needed to start from the center. Okay, so I'm going to erase these lines real quick. And now we have our points here. So there's 1. There's 2. Here's 3. Here's 4. Here's 5. So I got it broke up into 5 equal sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep in mind my line went all the way over here. I didn't want to draw that line right away because I don't have it quite yet, because I need to break it up here between G and H and then come back down here. So sorry about that little mix up, but you guys kind of get the idea. Alright, anywho, so now let's go to this one. So essentially what you're doing is you're going to be constructing an angle between K and J, so this angle here, and all we're going to do is simply set our compass to more than halfway, scribe over this arc, and then carry our points up and bisect them together. So here we go. Remember, it's just randomly, nothing as long as it's long past it. I'm going to arc as long as it's more than halfway. Arc here, keeping the compass. Arc here. So let's turn this so you guys can actually see what I'm doing here. So I went arc, arc, just like that. And now I'm going to simply take this compass, okay, and I can change it at this point. It doesn't really matter. As long as I'm more than halfway between this point and that point, because we're going to bisect that now. So I'm going to go arc here, flip it over, keeping the compass, stab that point now, and arc here. Now I'm going to make my point through those two. There it is. Boom, boom. So I bisected it. Now my next objective is essentially to take this existing angle here, or I mean this radius, and transport it down from K up here. So let's stretch it. Man, it's so hard to get used to this camera because I want to just put my hands in the middle of everything. So, alright, so I got my radius. I'm going to transport that radius back down to here, and I'm going to draw randomly just a line length like this. See that? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find this radius that touches the top of this. So I'm going to bring it in till it arcs just to where it's tangent to that straight line, because I need to know the radius of it, right? So here we go. I'm looking for the radius. Look at that. See how it just barely touched the top line? Now I'm going to take this point and bring it down here. I'm going to do a crosshair now. Boom. There is my existing angle from here to here. So therefore, this angle is the same as this angle, and those angles are the same as this angle. Pretty easy, right? Alright, that one's done. Let's do this one. So real quick, we have L, and L is not halfway between. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my point from M to L, and I'm going to arc way up here. Okay, and once I find that, then I'm simply going to bring it all the way back over here, back down to here. With that same radius, I'm jumping from here to there, and now I have point AB, just like I had up here, point AB. So point A or M, and then we're going to say this is Z or something, and now I'm going to bisect it, meaning I just go past halfway and arc, 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 and then draw a center line. So here we go. We're going to use the bigger compass now. I'm going to try to stay out of the view here because my fat fingers are always in the way. Alright, here we go. Bringing it in to where she just barely touches that line, just like so. There it is. Okay, I got my mark. Now I'm going to bring it up here. Stab the center there and arc here. Boom, there it is. Now I have point and point. I'm going to bisect those two. There it is. Remember, I'm more than halfway. I'm going to bring it back a little bit so it's not so much in the way of that. I'm going to arc and arc, arc and arc. Now let's flip it. Arc and arc. Now simply connect the dots. Because I know where it goes through. It goes through point L. Boom. So there's our 90 degrees. Pretty easy, right? Okay. Last one. We're going on this one. This one's an easy one. So I'm going to essentially connect my dots, and then I'm going to bisect these, and then make my lines come together, and then I find the center. So here we go. So connect the dots first, bisect the lines. Boom, boom. Remember, now I'm going to bisect my lines. I'm not going to go so big with them, as long as I'm a little bit halfway. Let's move up. There we go. My fingers get in the way so much. I'm sorry, guys. All right. Arc, arc, and then arc. Better make this one bigger. Okay, now I'm going to flip it. I haven't moved this compass now. Keep that in mind. You don't want to move the compass, because then you're going to end up messing yourself up. Okay, now I'm going to do the last one over here. Boom. Now see, I'm not intersecting, so I got to go back and draw that one again. Boom. Now I have a crosshair for all these, which means now I just pretty much... Uh-oh, I think I screwed up here. Sorry, guys. I need to go here too. There's my last crosshair. Okay, so here to here, making a light line, and then between here and here. Now I have a center. Now all I'm simply going to do is find the center, like that. Set it to point P. Okay, and then I'm simply just going to draw the circle. Boom, boom. Done. Alright, so that's draw a circle through points OPQ. OPQ, see how the circle's touching them all, their tangent. That's the method of it. Okay, this sheet 17's done. So these guys are good to go. Put those off to the side. Let's do the next set. Okay, we're going to try to speed it up a little bit because I might be running out of time here. So, here we go. Construct a quadrilateral, meaning all the angles are the same. So I'm just going to set my compass from A to B, arc it from here up to there, and then I'm going to flip it from here to there, and then I'll have a point, and I just connect the dots. So here we go. Let's zoom out so you guys can actually see what I'm doing here. If it even helps. Who knows, it might not. Okay. Here we go. There's my point. I'm going to stretch it up to A. There it is. Arc up here, flip it. Flip it, there it is. Now let's draw. There we go, meaning all these angles are the same now. So there's your method. Okay, here we go, here's this one. So we're going to constructing a square upon point CD as the base. So these angles are all the same. So my first method is I'm going to pretty much bisect this with point C as the middle, but I need to be perpendicular at the same time because the square is perpendicular. So I'm going to stretch my line, and then I'm going to just set my compass randomly to make point AB, and then I'm going to bisect that through C, meaning just go beyond it, and then I have a crosshair through point C up. Okay, and then once I do that, I go back to CD and I arc way up here till it hits the crosshair of this perpendicular line. Then I have my top point. From there, I arc here, I flip my compass, then I arc here, and then I got the other point, and I'm done. So, real quick, here we go. Remember, I gotta just stretch this a little bit beyond it to make it easy, making sure that I'm square even up here as I'm down there, because we gotta make sure we're on a straight line for the most part. Grab my compass. Remember, I just got to be a little ways out there. I don't need to be crazy, right? I don't need it really long. I just need it somewhat. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to set the compass, remember, more than halfway. Okay, arc up here, flip it. Arc here, there it is. Now I'm just going to connect the dots. I know the center and I know one of the outside points, so I'm just going to go randomly. Pretty easy. Grab my big compass, set my point CD. There it is. Remember, I mark up here. Bink. There's my first point. Now I'm going to come over here and stab this. I'm going to keep my compass. There's that point. And then I'm going to come over here and stab this point. There's that point. Now I have myself a square. Boom. I'm perpendicular on all sides. I'm good to go. Alright, here we go. We're going to do this one now. This one we're simply just going to make a square in a circle. So what I do is I simply just make one line going through representing the diameter. Then I just bisect that. Then I have a crosshair, meaning these are perpendicular, and I have 2 points to the outside, and I just connect the dots. So here we go. First thing I do is just draw a line from outside circle to outside circle as long as it's touching the center, and I'm just going to tip this angle so you guys can kind of see the difference. It doesn't really matter what line you draw as long as it goes through the center. Okay, you can't have a chord line and break this up into a section of a circle. You got to have a diameter line going through the center and a straight line. Okay, so here we go. Use the big compass again. We're just looking to bisect this. So remember, it's just got to be halfway, right? So I'm going to go a little bit close to halfway so we can keep it within the circle. Now we're going to flip it. Boom. There we go. Now I'm going to make this line very, very light, and I should have made the other one light. Okay, now I have points. I just simply connect my points now. There's one. There's one. There's one. There's one. So we pretty much inscribed a square inside a circle, and a square, of course, is going to have 90 degrees. There we go. Okay, next step is we're going to inscribe a regular hexagon in the circle. So we're going to start out by doing just a solid line again. In this method now I'm going to go from points to find the center, and I'm just going to draw an arc to arc. And now I have the outside points. I'm going to flip my compass and go back, hit those arcs, and connect the dots. So we're going to be very light with this. So remember, I'm just going to change the angle now so you guys can see that it doesn't matter if the line's completely up and down as long as it goes through the center and it's a straight line. So now I'm going to set the compass to the middle, meaning the radius, right? And I'm going to make sure I do my practice scribe to make sure it's in the center. And I'm simply going to draw a big one so you can kind of see the idea. Flip it. Remember, I'm very light right now, making sure I'm in the center. Yep, looks good. There it is. Cool. So now I have points here, and I just connect the dots. So real quick, here's a point to point. Boom. So I'm rolling around this on you so much, but you guys kind of get the idea. It's very important you guys know how to do these skills, because these are the basic principles you need to know to do all the drawings that follow. So there we go. Keep in mind, it's completely different. The square is a little bit almost somewhat flat. If I would have went 45 degrees, you know, it would have been flat, but this one's like completely 90 degrees kiltered, or 45 degree kiltered. This one here is straight up and down with probably a 30 degree kilter. This one's with a different angle, maybe a 15 or whatnot, but I mean, you guys kind of get the idea. It's a different line versus the straight up and down line method, right? I went this way with it. This one went straight up and down. When the very first line is what I'm getting at. Okay, here we go. Here's my next method. So this method is the only method you guys are going to do with a triangle, because we got to make sure that we're across the flats. Remember, it's important that it says across the flats at this diameter. So, meaning from point to point outside, I've got to be from point to point. Keep in mind, this hexagon was from not across the flats, it was from across the points. So from here to there, that's across from points, right? Across the flats is outside to outside, outside to outside, outside to outside. So we're going to draw these at 90 and those at 30. So here we go. First things first is I'm going to grab my compass and my metric scale, and I'm going to set, remember, diameter is 50, which means I got to divide that by 2, so I'm going to set it to 25. Hey Kendall, will you get me some drafting dots? Thank you. Next, I'm just going to simply just draw the circle, and I'm going to really quickly tape this down, making sure it's perpendicular, because I don't want to draw something that isn't flat, let's say. So real quick, here we go. So I'm flat, I'm on it. There's that one. I'm only even do 2 drafting dots because we're literally, once we get this taped down and done, then I'll take it off. So real quick, I got to be 90 degrees across the flat, so I'm just going to be tangent to here, making sure that I'm just touching that line, and I'm going to draw a very light line. Notice I'm barely touching it, that meaning tangent, right? So I'm barely touching it. There we are. Okay, my next method is I'm going to tip them to 30 degrees now. Just want to be barely touching it, just like that. I'm going to slide this one up. I'm going to do this side. Just barely touching, just like that. I'm going to flip it. Just barely touching, just like that. And just barely touching. There you go. That's the only method you really need to know. This one's an important one because there's going to be a drawing in there that a lot of kids scratch their head on. Just make sure you do that with 30 degrees and whatnot. Okay, so I'm done with that one. Now we're going to do the next one here. This one here, you're going to draw a regular hexagon within the square. So we have a square already drawn, and what I do is I just grab from the point to the center, find the center, inscribe all corners, and I pretty much have outside points. It's pretty easy. So first we got to find the center, right? So I'm just going to simply go like this, center to center, draw a very light line. Center to center, draw a very light line. Now I have the center, so I'm simply going to set the compass from outside points to the center. Remember, I'm doing a practice scribe to make sure I'm on. Looks like it's on. I'm going to do one big swipe. Bink. Come over here and do another one. Do another one. Bingo bango. Now I have my outside points. Remember, this is an octagon, meaning looks like a stop sign. Oops. Pretty easy. There you go. Stop sign's done. Octagon. Okay, that one's done. Now these next ones are going to go by really, really quick because it's actually really easy. One thing I never really referred to, guys, though, is if you don't want to watch this video, the text goes over all of this. So if you just keep going, you'll find out that looked like one, bisecting it, right? So if you want to just follow along with this and do the steps, you can go ahead and do that. Everything that is on here that I require you to learn is in the text. So, yeah. All right, let's get back to this one. Okay, so essentially what we're going to do is we're going to draw a tangent line to a circle at point P, okay, meaning it's got to be perpendicular, okay, and at the same time, we're simply going to have from Q to the lower portion be tangent also. So let's go ahead and look at that one. So I got to just make sure it's tangent, meaning I'm just going to be perpendicular. So I'm going to make this point, stretch it over, bisect it, and then point Q is just barely touching. So let's do point Q first, just so you guys can get an idea what I'm talking about when I say tangent. So I just simply grab my point Q and I move my compass to where it's just barely touching the outside of that circle, and then I draw my line. See how it's barely touching? It's tangent, meaning it's just touching. It's not inside it, and it's not barely off of it. It is barely touching it. Okay, point Q now, what we're going to do is we're just going to simply bisect it. So first things first is I've got to make this point a little bit longer. Okay, set my compass to point center to P so I can keep it in the middle, right? So there's my center. Then I'm going to stab it out here, just like so. Okay, and now I'm just going to set my compass to more than halfway. Right? So there's a circle, there's a circle, and now I'm going to flip it. There's a circle, there's a circle. Now, I kind of messed up there, so try not to do that, but you guys get my idea. There we go. We're tangent and we are perpendicular. Make sense? Alright, easy enough. Okay, this next one's real easy. So we just got to be tangent, meaning we're barely touching point P and point C when it's touching the circle. So we're just simply going to set the compass from point B to where it's just barely scribing, and then mark it up here, then flip that compass from C up here, then switch it again back to here. Real easy. 3-4 arcs. We're done. So here's point B. I'm going to scroll it in towards just barely touching that circle or that line. See how it's barely touching that line? Now I'm going to transform it up. Now I'm going to come from point C. There's that. There's my center. Now I'm going to come back. And now I'm going to barely touch it. Bink. See how I barely touched it? Touched it. Done. This one's good. Next method. So this one's really important. Once I kind of get the idea that you guys get the idea of this, then this is the important stuff for all the drawing, like really crucial. Kids will always scratch their heads on it. So this next portion of this video, I want you guys to really pay attention. What we're trying to do is just be tangent, meaning we're barely touching this line and barely touching this line and making that a radius corner. So it's going to look like this, barely a radius corner like that. So we're going to do the parallel line method. So we're essentially going to set the compass to the tangent radius, right, which is 15 millimeters, R radius. And we're just going to randomly put this compass on these lines, okay, at those radius marks, and then go tangent to the tops of those arcs. Now, it's really important when you do these that you do like a full circle for the most part. I mean, almost, how would you say? You want like a big radius curve. You don't want one of these that goes like this, because you don't know if this is the point, the top, or if that's the top, because some kids will even do it like this, and then I don't know where the point's at. Where does it start curving back down, because I want to be to the top. So real quick, here we go. We're going to set our compass to 15 millimeters. Here we go. 15 millimeters. Bring this guy in nice and tight. Remember, we're doing our whole scribe method. It might get a little loud here in a minute, but you guys get the idea. Randomly, on these lines, it doesn't matter. So I got to make sure I do a big arc so you guys can see the tops. And then I'm going to come over here. Now I'm not going to move the compass, because now I'm going to make tangent to the tops of these arcs. Boom. Boom. Now I have a center. Boom. There it is. Now, I'm not going to go over these two because you guys get the method, so I want you to try it yourself. Only thing difference is the radiuses, right? Different radiuses, 38, 50, 15, so you've got to do the parallel line method to do the tangent radiuses to the, whether it's a complementary angle or a supplementary angle or a perpendicular angle. The one I want to talk about is this one. So this is where it becomes fun. Two things. We have a parallel line method we got to be tangent to right here. So let's look at it. Here we are. I'm going to do the parallel line method to get a parallel line with a tangent of 30. And at that point, then I'm going to be tangent to an outside of an arc. So tangent to outside of an arc. which means I've got to add. So what I got to do is I got to figure out this radius first, which is 33.5 radius, and I got to add my tangent radius to the existing radius because my tangent arc is outside the arc. So I come up with 63.5. So I simply just set the center from here to 63.5 degrees, and I arc it. And where it runs into that perpendicular line is the center where I will set my compass back to 30 millimeters for my tangent radius and arc. So if you zoom in here, you guys kind of see what's happening here. Parallel line method. Remember, it doesn't matter where you do these arcs, anywhere on this lawn, as long as you have two. So after I do my parallel line, then I know my radius. I'm outside, it's tangent, I add. Addition. Pretty easy. Now, to make this video short, I'm going to skip this one. We're not going to go over it. Okay? We're going to go to the next one. This is the last sheet, and then you guys get your whole 20 points or whichever it is. So, and we might just talk about this just so we can save time. Alright, here we go. So, here's our method here. It's important now is I've got to have a tangent radius to the inside of an arc. So if you look at this one, this tangent radius needs to be inside here like this. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to take my tangent radius, which is going to be 30 millimeters, and I'm going to subtract it from my existing radius. So this existing radius right here is 62. And I keep saying degrees, and I don't know why I keep saying degrees, but that's the radius. Okay? Tangent radius. So 62 is the radius. Because it's inside it, I subtract it. Pretty easy. So then I set my compass from 62 minus 30, which is my tangent radius. I come up with 32. I set that arc right here. And then I do the parallel line method. Remember, two arcs, just like outside. Make a straight line. There's my center. Once I have my center, I draw my arc. I'm tangent to a parallel line and inside an arc. Pretty easy, yeah? Alright, let's blow through these ones. So, real quick, your tangent radius needs to be here. So we're simply going to do is we're going to know the radius, add the tangent radius. Know the radius, add the tangent radius, and you're going to have two arcs. Then you set the compass back to the tangent radius to draw your arc. Let's go over here. Keep in mind, it's inside now. Okay? So what you need to do is you need to subtract the radius from the tangent radius, have an arc. Now you're outside, which means you're going to add now. Pretty easy, right? Okay, this is the fun one. Here's where I want you guys to really pay attention to this one here. So if I was to block this all up and you guys could see what's happening here, I do my parallel line method off this straight line. Parallel line method off this straight line, which means I set my arc 2 times to the tangent radius of 36. Once I draw my parallel line off the tops of those arcs, meaning your tangent and your parallel, then what I do is I simply set my compass to point A at that same radius of 36 and arc it. Where that arc intersects that parallel line is the center for your point of your circle that's tangent to a line and touching the point. Parallel line method, keep the same radius, arc it again, hit the point. That point is for the radius. You should have a radius, or you should have a circle inscribed like this. Pretty easy, right? Last two here. These are fun ones. Okay, so everything I've taught you about being inside and outside now gets reversed. Because you are doing a tangent radius to a complete circle, meaning it's holding the circles inside it, you do the vice versa. So what I'm going to do is, because this is, so think of it this way. Think of you drawing a tangent radius thinking that you don't know this. So I know my tangent radius is 64, right? So what I need to do is I need to take 64 and I need to add them to the 13, right? Oh, and I'm sorry, I need to subtract them from the 13. So this is 13, that's 9. So if we were to do the math, right? Let's just grab a calculator so we can all see it as we work it out here. So my tangent radius is 64. I'm going to subtract 13 because that's what this radius is. I come up with 51. Now I'm going to take 64 again, and I'm going to subtract it from the 9. I come up with 55. So we're going to do this one together, and then we're going to talk about that one. So real quick, here we go. Come from the centers. Remember, 51 for this section, 55 for that section. So let's go ahead and set these guys. So here we are. So this is, we're going to go 51 first. Stretch it to 51. Scribe. We're on. Remember, 51 is the first one. That's the 13. So I should have some marks out here by it says drawn by. I'm going to do a big arc, and I'm going to darken it so we can kind of see what's happening. And there's that arc. Oh, wait. I can't do that one because this is a different radius. So I got to set this one to 55. So I'm going to stretch it to where it says 55. And now I'm going to set the center here. I'm going to draw this one. Now I'm going to set my tangent radius back to 64. Come from that center. There it is. Now I kind of got off on my centers. I need to come over a little bit more. There it is. There she blows. Alright, there you go. I'm tangent to the outside. Now let's just talk about this one. This tangent radius needs to happen like this, which means, remember, you're encompassing this whole thing, so you subtract it, right? Now this one's outside it, so you add it. So let's look at it. This radius is 11, so I take 11 minus the 60, or 60 minus 11. And because it's over here, I add it. So I go 60 plus the 10, which would be 70. Come from those arcs. Your arc should be way out here somewhere. That's your center. There's your radius. Okay, guys, keep in mind, if I don't see any of these arcs showing me that you know what you're doing, I don't accept it. And then I give it back to you. Now, last but not least, turn them in all at once, and you guys should be good to go. Any questions, please ask. Remember, don't stare off into the abyss dreaming about your future of trying to finish this and getting it in on time rather than just asking for help. Thank you very much.